Total Station Ultralight is getting close, so I'm down to working out the bugs. The beauty of this, being able to do this in SketchUp, is I have my saw exact dimensions. I've got the Capex exact dimensions and angles that the saw turns, so I can figure all of that out. I also have this I've shown before. This is the best fence. They're redesigning to work with to be flat as opposed to having the back stick up. I'm an anti having any kind of fence sticking up. Miter saws don't need them. Just the fence on the miter saw is all you need. You don't need anything sticking up on the back. It just gets in your way, interferes when you've got material that's got a little bow in it. You got to push. So I want either, if there is a fence, I want it behind the fence of the miter saw, or not at all is the best. So they've redesigned it. They've got a newer version than this, but it didn't change any of the dimensions. A couple minor things. I've measured it, and so this is what I'm going off of. And so what I've done here, or what I'm working on, sneaking up on, is being able to design the ultralight, the Paulk Total Station Ultralight, so that it can be built in the field using wood and really cool T-track. I got it from ClampView Systems, and I'll put a link to this down below because it's tough to find. You can get Craig and other brands in shorter pieces, but I really wanted it in 8-foot lengths because I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. So I'm going to have a short piece that is permanently affixed to the bench, and then I'm going to make the extensions so that the other piece goes, all the way out to the end. And it's critical that I have over an 8-foot cut from the center of the saw. So I'm working the bugs out on that too, because I need the bench a certain size. I need the extensions to fit inside the bench for transporting, so they can't be too long. And the reason for the over 8 foot, closer to about 8'4", 8'6", is that for repetitive cuts, one of the jobs that we all do for finished carpenters is we case 8-foot doors. And so we have to cut a lot of door legs with a miter, 4 to, depending on the width of the material, 4 inches and sometimes 5.5 inches. And so we wanted to be able to do repetitive cuts. So I'm getting into that. Now, really long stuff like crown molding or base molding, it'll just hang off. That doesn't matter because you're not doing repetitive cuts on those for links. It's just the windows and the doors, the casings, where you might be cutting 50 sticks exactly the same. So you want to be able to set the stop up. So I need that stop to go all the way out from the center of the saw, both directions. And so I'm pretty happy with that. Of course, the original Paulk Total Station was designed for that as well. And then I want to make sure I get the angles right here. I've got this a little wider, a little bigger than it needs to be for the Capex, but I had done that on the PTS because there's a lot of miter saws out there and there's different sizes, and so I wanted it to be a little bit generic, and having a little extra space didn't really matter to me. I think what I'll end up doing is having this piece and this piece come in closer to the saw. SketchUp is so great to be able to just test everything out. So I'll just go right up to the saw. I'll probably leave an 1/8 of an inch gap. And then what I'm going to work with FastCap once they're producing this is I'm going to have them put together a Paulk Total Station kit so that you'll get the 2 pieces. And then I'm going to make the stands, the legs, because another super critical thing that I've shown in my videos is that, for production, you've got to have the material between you and the saw to go up, cut, down, store. Otherwise, you're turning around with big material, particularly I'm going to design these to hold either the shop built or the Best Fence. The other thing is Best Fence, they have their stop, and it's fine. It's not my favorite. There's a lot of different stops on the market. I designed this one, not because I wanted to design one, or not because I'm brilliant and know better than everybody else. I just know what works and doesn't work in production in finished carpentry, and having a stop that it doesn't move when you want to be able to slam material up to it and it's rigid. And so I've made it a wide enough base with a spline that drops into the T-track so that when I tighten it down, this thing locks in. The other thing is it needs to be micro adjustable. So you can't have it just set up to your tape to the car or the track and not have it somewhat adjustable. So I've set this up with a nice bolt and a bolt head so I can move this in and out in reference to the car for that fine adjustment. And that's for calibration because you run them on the right and the left. And also I like to run doubles on the right and doubles on the left because a lot of times I'll just be moving one in and out for quick cuts, and the other, and I might be set up for a repetitive cut and I don't want to keep moving back to that. So I'll set one up on my repetitive cut on both sides, and then I just flip it up out of the way and the material goes by. And then I've got a second one where I can move it in and out for the cuts. And again, it's about production. I've been doing finished carpentry for a long time, so these little things really make a difference in your accuracy, just the fun to work, and efficiency. So I'm getting there because I've built a number of these different versions. The PTS that's currently available was one that was refined and refined and refined, and now since I'm making it out of ultralight, since I have to make myself a new one, and I'm making it out of that Moreland ultralight ply, I wanted to do some more fine tuning, make it available for this best fence and or the shop built version. I am going to, even in the shop mount version, I'm going to use this clampy system T-track. This is just beautiful stuff, and the bolt head drops, hex head fits in that. They've done a beautiful job of designing it, and that locks in so that you don't get any turning of the bolt head inside of it, which is a really neat idea. I'm still going to design my spline to fit in there, and I will be doing a little modification to this. I want a little less distance here so that the material clears and I don't have to have the T-track so far back. So that's going to be reduced to 16 millimeters, and I'll move this screw back, and that should be pretty much it. I'll adjust the spline width so it'll work with this and the best fence both, so that the stop will go to either one. So the way I see it, a person could build this in the shop with this, and then if in the future they wanted to spend a little bit more and get the aluminum version of the best fence, they could just purchase that kit and just put it right on their existing one and not have to rebuild anything. So that's why I'm working out all the bugs to get the wood and this to be exactly like this, so it'll drop in. Another thing I'm doing is I don't really need super wide extensions. This is plenty wide because that's just to support the material and to put the stop on with the tape measure. And I'll be using that fast cap rule, which is both. It's very similar to this, except it's flat. It's got the standard and metric on both sides, or on one side and the other, and that's going to either work on the best fence or on the shop built. And beautiful, easy to read stuff, and dual scale. It's what I have on the current Total Station, and I really like it. So I want, though, to be able to support wider material, like I'm showing here, but I only need to support it just that couple of feet on either side of the saw. So if I'm cutting 1x12 or 18-inch wide material like for closet shelving, that'll support it even if I'm cutting it out of 12 or 16-foot goods. The extensions will hold it up from flopping down, but then that little bit there will on the bench itself, on the miter bench, that way when I lay it down, it won't tip off like on the narrow miter stand. So again, there's not a a miter stand on the market in production that I like, and hence I created my miter stand, which is different than this, and then I've sort of evolved this to be sort of an all-in-one. This is my #1 bench. When I go to a job, this always gets set up, and then I've got the other benches as I've got bigger projects like doing mantles or bookcases and stuff. Then the big Paulk workbench comes out. It's the same height as this. It works with it. It'll take a table. The cantilever support of the table saw, I've quit using that because I've gone to these bigger saws, and this is the only portable saw that I would buy with that safety feature. The fact that it's got an awesome fence. It's just such a well-built saw that there's just nothing else on the market that I would personally use now that this is out. And it is a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. It comes with a really nice wheeled stand, and I just don't want to be lifting it up and loading it in the trailer. I flip it. It's a gravity lift, so you just flip it down. You don't even have to lift the saw to stand it up. It just snaps up, and I can roll it right into the aisle of my trailer. I run 2 of them, and so I roll them in, and I just I wouldn't want to be carrying them in and out. And I can also bump them across, roll them across, rough terrain like a lot of construction sites are. But because of that, it'll help me lighten the bench because I don't need to have those pipes coming out to support. And it would be difficult. The bench would hold it weight-wise. The problem is trying to get the pipes in and to fit the saw because it's a narrower bench. But I do like the fact that I can use this support here on the left side of the table saw as an infeed, so it'll pick up what if I'm doing wider material. Because I did design this in the current one, and I'm going to the current PTS, I'm going to keep it. Is this can with just a wedge that pulls out. I don't use bolts to hold it down on purpose, because one, I want to slide it in and have it drop in its place and fit perfectly for alignment, and then just have that wedge. And so it doesn't go anywhere and doesn't tip, and it locks it in. But if I need to rip wider stuff, I can pull that wedge and just slide the saw out a few inches, give myself a little bit more to the left side of the blade of the table saw. But also, it's really quick and easy to pull the miter saw completely out, just set it on the floor right underneath in front, and then I've got the whole bench with nothing on that side, and I've got this support for this infeed. And I'm possibly, and this is a possible, I'm just thinking about this, of creating an extension for this side that's not the full depth. It would just be a top. I'd cut holes in it and just have some slip-in cantilevers so that it would slip into some notches on this side and give me a little more outfeed on this side, just for when projects are bigger. But again, I use the Paulk workbench also as an outfeed, and I run 2 saws, so I don't oftentimes run into where I'm trying to do really big material on this particular bench. This one, if I'm doing hardwood installation, this does everything. If I'm doing trim, this does everything. If I'm just ripping, 1 by 12, that or narrower, then this is great. And of course, for wider stuff, I typically don't run plywood through a table saw. I use the track saw at that point. I get a better cut, and it's like having a portable slider. So anyway, there's all my thoughts and what I'm working on. I think I'm close, but I'm going to finish the design before I get down in the shop. And of course, I'll be doing a full video series as I build it. So again, this if you're interested in this stuff, I'll put a link to their website. It's pretty fairly priced too. I think it's $25-26 for an 8-footer. So, it's the best deal I've found. All right, well, that's the update. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Hey, if you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. Most important, share the channel with others. I'd like to get some more subscribers. I still have a goal this year of hitting 100,000, and I'm getting close to 83,000 right now. And we're going to have a lot going on with this project once I get started the shop. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Have a great day.